year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne high and lifted up. What Isaiah saw that day was the Lord sitting in the hearts of his people. See, King Uzziah represents the old man, the man of sin, the son of perdition, who unlawfully went into the holy place and was exalting himself. His soul was lifted up with pride. And of course, Uzziah was struck with leprosy, which is a flesh-eating disease. The flesh has to die. The old man has to die before the King of Glory fully inhabits that place. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up. In Habakkuk chapter 2, it says, "In the end it shall speak and not lie. His soul which is lifted up in him is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith." See, the soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. See, this is what happened to Lucifer. His soul was lifted up within him. This is what happened in the fall of man. His soul was lifted up within him. And he sat in this exalted place of the heart. This is the old man, the man of sin, the son of perdition. It is our soul lifting itself up and sitting in the place that was created for Christ in our heart. So as when he would sit there, then his glory would be manifested. See, this is what Lucifer was created for. He was called in Ezekiel 28 the perfection of beauty. He was perfect in all his ways until iniquity was found in him. He was created for worship, and the perfection of beauty that came forth out of him was the manifestation of Christ. But his soul was lifted up with pride because he thought that this was of himself, something he did. And his soul was lifted up. This is the mystery of iniquity. Jesus said in John 17, "Father, I have kept them in your name, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture may be fulfilled." Now, automatically people think of Judas, but there's a deeper thing here. It's the soul that's lifted up in pride. See, I have kept them in your name is being kept in the secret place. See, in the Father's name is the secret place. And it is here that iniquity is purged. We are coming to the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, where iniquity is purged. Iniquity is purged when we come back into his name. David spoke of this name and knew well of this name. In Psalm 138 says, "I will praise you with my whole heart before the gods. Will I sing praises unto you? I will worship towards your holy temple and praise your name for your mercy and for your truth." What name is that? It's the name that Yahweh proclaimed to Moses when Moses said, "Show me your glory." Because it's in this name, when we come into this name, that his glory is manifested out of us, that we become this perfection of beauty that Lucifer was. The Lord spoke to me many years ago and said, I created man to fill the seat that Lucifer vacated, to become the perfection of beauty. Psalm 50 speaks of this. The mighty God, the Lord, has spoken and called the earth from the rising of the sun until the going down of the same. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God has shined. See, that's what manifested out of Lucifer. And it is to be manifested out of us. As we bring our soul back out of this place and into its rest, and Christ can sit upon that place in our heart and fully manifest himself. The mighty God, the Lord, has spoken and called the earth from the rising of the sun until the going down. What did he call the earth to? This is David speaking. Psalm 113 clearly reveals it. Praise ye the Lord. Praise, O ye servants of the Lord. Praise the name of the Lord. From the rising of the sun until the going down of the same, the name of Yahweh is to be praised. The Lord is high above the nations, his glory above the heaven. Who is like the Lord our God, who dwells on high and who humbles himself to behold the things in heaven and things in the earth? He raises the poor out of the dust and lifteth the needy out of the dunghill, that he may set them with princes, raising out of the dust, ascending to the heights of the throne, that he may set them with princes, the princes of his people. And he maketh the barren woman to keep house, and to be a joyful mother of children. Praise ye the Lord. See, from the rising of the sun until the going down of the same, the name of Yahweh is to be praised. It's not 24/7. David was not called to 24/7, as many people say. It's not true. He was called from the rising of the sun until the going down of the same, to praise Yahweh's name. And then his glory was manifested out of the tabernacle. We are that tabernacle. I have kept them in your name, and none of them is lost but the sin of perdition. Because, see, in his name is mercy and truth. See, when Moses said, show me your glory, he said, as my brother was singing, he made his goodness, I will make my goodness pass before you, and I will proclaim the name of Yahweh. And David went up the mountain and stood on the cleft of the rock. And as this glory passed by, it said the Lord descended. You know who this was? It was the angel of his presence, the angel of his face, that ascended and stood next to Moses. It was the same angel that met Moses in the wilderness. He was in the burning bush. It was this angel that Ezekiel saw in Ezekiel chapter 1 and Ezekiel chapter 8. As Ezekiel saw the glory coming in and the four faces, the living creatures, and above it he saw a throne like as a sapphire and one like the Son of Man. And it says he descended in Ezekiel chapter 8, and his loins downward were fire and his loins upward were amber. This is the angel of his face, the angel of his presence. See, that's what rode upon the glory above the four faces, the depths, the four depths of Christ's love. The breadth, the length, the depth, the height, the four dimensions of Christ's love. That's the glory. And when he said, show me your glory, and the glory came by, this angel, the Lord descended and stood next to Moses and proclaimed the name of Yahweh. Yahweh, Yahweh El, or I am God, compassionate, gracious, long-suffering, abundant in mercy and truth. There it is. There's the key of David within Yahweh's name, abundant in mercy and truth. There is the secret place in his name. See, mercy and truth meet at the Ark of the Covenant, the mercy seat, and under it were the tablets, the truth of that covenant. We are now in a new covenant, and that truth are the words of Christ. And that blood is the blood of Christ. That is the secret place that brings us into his name. Into his house. And when we praise this name, we become his house. This is the key of David and why it is attached to worship, but it is attached to this key of mercy and truth, of praising of this name, that he's magnified above all his name, it says in Psalm 138. I will praise you with my whole heart. Before the gods will I sing praises unto you. I will worship towards your temple and praise your name for your mercy and for your truth. What name is he praising? This name. When Moses said, show me your glory. For you have magnified your word. It's the Hebrew word imrah. You have magnified your saying above all your name. This saying, compassionate, gracious, long-suffering, abundant in mercy and truth. His name of love. And when we praise this name of love, as we join with this mercy and truth, the blood of Jesus is the mercy. The truth are the words of Christ, who we are, created to be in him. We enter back into this name. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe. This is the secret place where we engage mercy and truth. These are the two altars. The altar of mercy where Christ finished it, and the truth is the golden altar of incense where our prayers, our confession come into agreement with the truth of Jesus Christ. And there we are brought through the second veil and enter into the Holy of Holies, into his house, into his name. And there is where his glory dwells. There will I make my house to rest, and those where I have put my name upon them. We are to become the perfection of beauty. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God has shined. Our God shall come and shall not keep silent. A fire shall devour before him. It shall be very tempestuous round about him. He shall call to the heavens above and to the earth that he may judge his people. Gather my saints, my merciful ones together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me. In this covenant of mercy and truth, that will lay down their lives to become this habitation, who have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. That the man of sin, the son of perdition, would be purged out of our hearts. His soul which is lifted up in him is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Paul said in Hebrews chapter 10, we are not of them that draw back unto perdition, but unto them that believe unto the saving of the soul. The Apostle Paul said in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, I beseech you by the coming of the Lord and our gathering together unto him, that you soon not be shaken nor troubled in mind, that the day of the Lord is at hand. Neither by spirit nor by word, nor by letter from us, that the day of the Lord is at hand. For that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, an apostasia, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. See, the falling away is falling away from that place of abiding and seeking transformation in the holy place, in the secret place, and falling back to trusting in ourselves. See, the apostasia, the falling away from the faith, makes way for the Son of Man, the son of perdition, to be revealed, be manifested outwardly. But first, he is manifested inwardly. So people haven't understood. The man of sin is right in here that we all have to deal with. The iniquity within us. You can deal with sin and never solve the problem. The problem is iniquity. It's your soul that is lifted up in you, is not upright in you, and must be humbled. That's what Isaiah 58, the purpose of the fast is to afflict. It means to humble the soul. Is to humble the soul so the King of Glory can come in and inhabit that place in our heart. The man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped. See, that is the soul that is lifted up. It sits as judge, judging our lives, judging people, judging how we should walk. It's our soul which is lifted up. See, this is the mystery of iniquity, Paul says right there. He says, I've told you these things, and now you know what withholdeth, until he be revealed in his time. The mystery of iniquity is already at work in those who now who let him work. Because just as Lucifer's soul was lifted up, he had man fall in the same way and lifted up their souls, lifted up our souls within ourselves when we came into this fallen world, thinking to protect ourselves, to take that place that was reserved for Christ, because we were created to manifest him. Adam was not made in the perfection of beauty. We are not seeking to return to Adam. Let us make man in our image after our likeness. Adam wasn't made there. That was the plan of God. He was to get there, to become the perfection of beauty. But it didn't happen. He fell. But we are the work of his hands. He is forming us to become that perfection of beauty. This house of worship. As Isaiah 4:43 says, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord. It's talking about our hearts. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God, a highway of holiness. That's the inner court of our hearts as we abide in the inner court of the tabernacle and receive the revelation of the lampstand, the seven spirits of God, the revelation of his love, to totally surrender. Make straight in the desert a highway for our God. And every valley shall be exalted. The low places shall be brought high. And every mountain and hill, the pride shall be brought low. The crooked shall be made straight. The iniquity. Iniquity is crooked. It's bent. It's twisted. Every crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places a plain. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. Shall see the glory manifested out of you. This is what Isaiah saw in the year that King Uzziah, this pride, this man of sin, whose soul was lifted up and went in his religious spirit, but yet not in humility of going there in what Christ had provided. He usurped the law of God. The law of God is a humble and a contrite spirit. that tremble at his word. There is where his house is. Thus saith the Lord, heaven is my throne and earth is my footstool. Where is the house that you build unto me? This house of Isaiah 6, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on the throne, high and lifted up. See, his soul which is lifted up in him, sitting on that high place in our heart that was created for the King of glory. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be lifted up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in into us, into that place. How do we lift up the heads, O ye gates? These are the gates of praise. And be lifted up, ye everlasting doors. These are the door of our lips that come into agreement with the eternal truth. This is becoming that worship, becoming that house where his glory dwells. And the King of glory shall come in. Isaiah tells us, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. And above it stood the seraphim, each having 6 wings. And with twain covered they their feet, and twain covered their eyes, and twain did they fly. And one cried to another, saying, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts, Jesus. The whole earth is full of his glory. When he manifests himself in all of us. The perfection of beauty. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, God has shined. And the post of the door moved at the voice of him that spoke. And the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Lo, woe is me, for I am done. For I am a man of unclean lips, that dwell in the midst of people of unclean lips. For I have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. See, what was brought to his attention right away? This, the mouth, the lips, not filled with worship, not filled with truth. And then the seraphim took the coal with the tongs off the altar, and he touched my mouth and purged my sin and cleansed my iniquity. And then said, Here I am, Lord. Send me. See, this is the tabernacle of David. See, David said in Psalm 57, Be gracious unto me, O God, be gracious unto me, for my soul trusteth in thee. See, there's the soul coming out of that place. It's trusting him. It's humbling to trust, to come into this place of rest, into his love. Coming out of that place where we're trying to control our own lives, and coming to this rest in his love. Be gracious unto me, O God, be gracious unto me. For my soul trusteth in thee. Yea, in the shadow of your wings. These are the seraphim over this throne. Taking the coal as David's lips were filled with praise. Can you say that in Psalm 78? Fill my lips with praise all the day to become this habitation for your glory. And the seraphim, when we do that, when we sing our praises unto him, when our lips, our confession comes into to the eternal truth of Christ, the seraphim, the burning one, take the coal off the altar. Whatsoever touches the altar is made holy. It says in Exodus chapter 29, verse 37, I believe, something like that. And they take that coal and touch our lips. It's made holy. And we become that place. I have kept them in your name, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition. Proverbs 16:6 says, by mercy and truth, by mercy and truth, iniquity is purged. Lucifer was perfect until iniquity was found. That iniquity is the soul lifted up. That's the root. Sin is the fruit. Iniquity is the root. If we don't deal with the root, we will never overcome. They overcame by the blood of the Lamb, the mercy, and the word of their testimony, the truth. That's how we overcome him, the accuser, whose soul was lifted up, and he sits in accusation. Because we have to overcome that which is in our own heart. As Jesus said, he has no place in me. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimonies. That is the key of David. That is the secret place. Entering into his name, entering into his house. The Father dwells in his own name. And when his name rests upon us, as it says in Psalm 22, how does Psalm 22 go? My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? I cried unto thee in the daytime, and thou hearest not, in the night season, and am not silent. But thou art holy, O thou that inhabitest the praises of Israel. See, he inhabits the praises of his name. This is David speaking again. He inhabits the praises of this name. And when we become this sacrifice, as our soul is humbled within ourselves, and the King of Glory, every time we worship, every time our lips come into agreement with that truth, he comes and sits. He comes and sits in that place, in that high place in our heart. Isaiah 16:5 tells us this. In mercy the throne is established, and he, the King of Glory, shall sit upon it in truth. He sits upon it in truth. As we speak those truths, he comes and sits upon in truth because he is the truth. As we allow the truth to enter into our hearts and we humble our souls, the King of Glory comes in. Selah.